problems or any other problems that have to do with dosages, we have to look at some directions that are used in dosages. There's some abbreviations we have to watch in dosages. We have an abbreviation that says BID. BID means 2 in a day. The B is for the prefix bi, like in bicycle. If they write BID, you're supposed to give that medicine 2 in a day. If they write TID, TID is 3 in a day. The prefix again, this time it's like tri and tricycle, 3 in a day. So QID is 4 in a day. It's like the prefix for quarter. Quarter is 1/4, 4 in a day. So we'll be reading problems, and they'll not only tell us how much medicine, but they'll tell you to give it 2 a day, 3 a day, or 4 a day. So we need to memorize these abbreviations. Another abbreviation they use sometimes involves a Q, some number, and H. If they write Q6H, that's every 6 hours. Now this one can be any number here. These are specific for 2, 3, and 4 times a day. These can be any numbers. You can give it every 12 hours, you can give it every 4 hours, now what we have to watch here is if you give it every 4 hours, how many times a day do you end up giving the medication?
6.
There are 24 hours in a day, so here you'd end up giving it 6 times a day. Because we have the abbreviation here that means 4 in a day, some people see the 4 and think 4 a day. But you've got to think that it's every 4 hours, and you have to figure out how many times you would give it. If it's every 12 hours, how many times would you give it in a day? 2 times a day. The other thing is when we read a problem, we have to know whether they have given us the individual dose or whether they have given us the daily amount. If you read the problems, these tell you, but you have to read the problems very carefully. If they say to give 200 milligrams, 200 milligrams QID. They said to give this much 4 times a day. This much is your dose. It says to give this much, we're just going to do it 4 times. So your dose is 200 milligrams. Some people see that QID and want to divide it by 4, but if you read what it says give this much, but we're going to do it 4 times. The only time it's daily is if it says give 200 milligrams daily or per day. Now if they say give 200 milligrams per day and they say QID, QID means how many times a day?
4.
So you would give 200 divided by 4, your dose would be 50 milligrams. The problems we're going to work, we're always going to work with the dose. We want to know how much we're actually giving the patient. If they say per day or if they say daily, we do need to divide. But some people get carried away and divide every time. If they don't say per day, then that already is the dose. But if they say per day or daily, they'll have to tell us how many times so that we can divide. To do tablet problems, we always take the dose divided by the tablet strength. When we take the dose divided by the tablet strength, the answer is always the number of tablets. Whatever it was, whether it's milligrams or grams, once we divide, our answer is now going to be 2 tablets or 4 tablets. Our answer will now be in tablets. So we take the dose divided by the tablet strength, but we do have to make sure that the labels match. We have to have the same label, whether it's milligrams over milligrams or grams over grams. It doesn't matter as long as we have the same label. Or when we do divide, if it does not come out evenly, we can give a whole tablet or we can give 1/2. So if I divide and get an answer of 2.9, you can't tell me give somebody 2.9 tablets. We can't give 2.9 tablets because you can't cut 1/10 of it off. What you have to ask yourself, is that going to be closer to 2 tablets, or is that closer to 2.5 tablets, or is that closer to 3 tablets? 2.9 is closer to 3, so we're going to give 3 tablets. For right now, we'll just be looking for the closest answer. Is it closer to 2.5 or is it closer to 3? But never leave an answer 2.9. The answer either has to be 3 or it has to be 2.5, because you can't tell me how I'm going to give 2.9 tablets. Now, some of the problems are going to give a choice of tablet strengths. Sometimes you might go to the pharmacy and they say we have 500 milligram tablets, or we have 100 milligram tablets. On the choice of tablet strengths, the first thing you look for, the most important thing, is an exact amount. If one of them said to give 2 tablets and the other one said to give 0.9 of a tablet and you rounded it up to 1 tablet, you would give the exact amount. If when you divided this one was exact, this one was a decimal, you give the exact amount. It's better to give the exact correct dosage rather than do any rounding. So if you have a choice of tablets and there is a choice, you go exact. But if they are all exact, then you give the less number of tablets. Over here, it's okay to give 2 tablets instead of 1 if this one is exact. But if all of them are exact, you would give the less number of tablets. You would rather have a patient swallow 2 tablets than 10 tablets. So give the less number of tablets. Now, sometimes what we have to do is we have to mix the strengths. If I'm supposed to give 150 milligrams, and the pharmacy says that they have 100 milligram tablets, and they have 50 milligram tablets, we could give 3 50 milligram tablets, but we could also mix it up. To get 150, I could give 1 tablet of the 100 milligrams, and I could give 1 tablet of the 50 milligrams. So sometimes we are going to mix them up. We're going to take 1 from this bottle and 1 from that bottle. The best is to make sure that it's exact whenever possible. There are going to be some of our problems where they can't be exact, but when you have a choice, give the exact amount if you can. Now, if you have your workbooks, I'm going to look at some problems on page 23. The first problem on page 23 says 50 milligram tablets give 7 grains. If they have 50 milligram tablets and I'm supposed to give 7 grains, we have to do a conversion until we have the same strength. Grains into milligrams. The conversion is 1 grain is 60 milligrams. If 1 grain is 60 milligrams and I'm supposed to give 7 grains, X is 7 times 60 milligrams. Now that I have the same strength, I take 420 milligrams divided by 50 milligram tablets. Now here I keep up with my labels. I keep up with my labels for 2 reasons. Make sure they match, milligram over milligram. But the other is to make sure that the tablet is on the bottom. If you always write the word tablet with the tablet strength, and make sure you always have tab on the bottom, you won't get these upside down. So now I'm going to a calculator and I'm just going to divide 420 divided by 50. Now when it's 8.4, is that closer to 8 tablets, 8.5 tablets,
8.5,
or 9 tablets? So I should give 8 1/2 tablets. Now that's an awfully big dose, but when I just make up problems, I don't always pay attention to what I'm doing. Usually you're not going to give a patient 8.5 tablets to swallow. Okay. Number 2. Now, I don't worry about what the drug is. You'll learn the drugs in pharmacology. Here I'm just looking at 300 milligram tablets. I'm supposed to give 0.6 grams. If you have a choice, it's usually better to go to milligrams. So if you have to convert, I'm usually going to convert everything to milligrams. Grams to milligrams, I have to move 3 decimal places. So now I have 600 milligrams. And here, if I'm careful with the word tablet, I see that the 300 milligram tablet goes on bottom. So 600 divided by 300 is 2 tablets. And again, notice your answer is tablet. Your answer is not milligrams. This is how many tablets do you give. Now, about the only way people would miss a problem like this is if they didn't write down the word tablet and they come down here and put it 300 over 600 and said, give a half a tablet. Keep up with the word tablet so you always have the word tablet on the bottom. Okay. Number 3, 1 300 grain tablets give 1 400 grain, and here I just had a typing error where I had give 1 400th grain tablet. Mark off the word tablet after 1 400th grain. that shouldn't be there. So the labels are already the same. I have grains and grains. So we keep the word tablet on bottom. That's the reason I had to mark that tablet. You shouldn't have two tablets in the same problem. Keep the word tablet on bottom, and we're going to take 1/400th grain. My labels match, tablets on the bottom. Now, when you have a fraction on top of a fraction, you just have to remember that this is another way of telling you to divide. So we take 1/400th divided by 1/300th. And we take 1/400th times 3/1. That's 3/4 of a tablet. Now, when you ask yourself, is that closer to 1/2 of a tablet or is that closer to 1 tablet? This is exactly in the middle. This is the only time I will accept either answer. If you put 1/2 of a tablet, I will accept that answer. If you put 1 tablet, I will accept that answer. But never say or. Don't ever put an or. You pick one. You pick just one answer, and you write down one answer. You don't ever give me an or, because you're not going to ever go to the patient and say, do you want to take 1 or do you want to take 1/2 a tablet? You make the choice, not the patient. But since it is exactly in the middle, I would accept either answer. When you get into pharmacology and you're studying the medicine, they will say, this medicine's so strong you never overdose. Or they'll say that this patient's very, very sick, we need to give them as much as we can. In pharmacology, when you learn the medicine, you would know which is the best answer. But I will accept either answer. I will not accept the word or. So you pick one. Okay, now number 4 is where we have a choice. I'm ordered to give 2 grams. I have 100 milligram tablets. I have 250 milligram tablets. Or I have 500 milligram tablets. Now I'm going to work this out as 3 separate problems and see which would be the best answer. First thing is, if this is milligrams, how many milligrams is that? 2,000 milligrams. So I'm going to take 2,000 milligrams divided by 100 milligram tablets. It's 20 tablets. I'm going to take 2,000 milligrams divided by 250 milligram tablets. And 2,000 milligrams divided by 500 milligram tablets. Now this time they all came out exact. I didn't have to round anything off. If they all come out exact, you're going to take the smaller number of tablets. But the reason I worked this out is if this would have been 3.9 rounded to 4, you would have still given 8 tablets. If it's not exact, you give exact amount. Now this time, if you just tell me 4 tablets, you haven't told me what to give. This time you have to tell me 4 tablets of the 500 milligram tablets. You not only have to tell me how many, you have to tell me which one you're choosing. Is that okay? Number 5 has 15 milligram tablets I'm supposed to give grain 1 1/2. Here we have to do a conversion, and we convert to milligrams. We don't want to convert milligrams to grains. We convert grains to milligrams. So 1 grain is 60 milligrams, 1 1/2 grain. So X is 1 1/2 times 60. Now you can multiply it as a fraction, but since we are converting to the metric, you can take your calculator and go 1.5 times 60. That's another reason to always go to the metric, is so that we can use our calculator. So now that I've done the conversion, I'm going to take 90 milligrams divided by 15 milligram tablets. And I can't tell you how many times I see people miss the problem because they won't write the word tab. If you write the word tab every time, you're not going to miss the problem. You're going to know tab goes on bottom. So how many tablets am I going to give?
6.
6 tablets. Number 6 says 6 grams per day in 4 equal doses. 6 grams per day. If it says per day, we have to figure out what the dose is. If it says 6 grams per day, I'm going to take 6 grams and I'm giving 4 doses. I give 1.5 grams. If it says per day or daily, we have to divide it. Then we have 500 milligram tablets. If I have 500 milligram tablets, I'm going to convert to milligrams. So I go 1, 2, 3, make sure you have the same label. Make sure you have tablet on the bottom. And so how many tablets? 3. Number 7 does say 0.5 milligram tablets. But it says the dosage is 0.1 milligram per kilogram per day. We're going to see problems like this during all of our dosage problems, not just on tablets, but on IVs and on shots. 0.5 milligrams per kilogram per day. This means this medicine, you don't give the same amount of medicine to every adult. You give a different amount of medicine depending upon the weight. So you would not give the same amount of medicine to a person who weighs 100 pounds and a person who weighs 170 pounds. We have to figure out for each individual how much dose they would get. I call these per problems, because you're always going to have a per kilogram per day. To do these problems, we're always going to do the same 3 steps before we get to the tablet problem. And the first step is to always take the number of pounds divided by 2.2. I'll go back and do the steps in a minute. I'm just going to write down the steps we always do. You divide it by 2.2 because we have to know kilograms. So mostly on the chart, you have people's weight in pounds. Well, the first step is take pounds divided by 2 by 2. Then we take that answer kilograms and we multiply it times whatever dose we have. Then we have to take that, and that's going to give you your daily amount. You take the daily amount and divide by the number of times a day. We have to do these 3 steps before we ever know what the dosage is. We do these 3 steps, and then we work it as a tablet problem. But these 3 steps are always going to be when there's a per. Divide by 2.2, multiply by the dose, divide by the times of day. It's always divide, multiply, divide. So for this problem here, what was the pounds? So my first step is to take 145 145 pounds divided by 2.2. Now here you can round it to the nearest tenth, or you can round it to the whole number. These, we'll find when we get to the end, are not going to make that much difference in how much tablets to give. So I will always accept a tenth or a whole number on the kilograms. Second step is to take that number times the dose. And this dose was 0.1 milligrams. So I get 6.6 milligrams, but this is a daily amount. This is the daily amount. I have to read and see how many times a day am I going to give the problem.
4.
How many times if given 4 in a day? $1.65 milligrams. Now these 3 steps, divide by 2.2, multiply by the dose, divide by the times of day. Now I'm actually ready to do the tablet problem. You take the 1.65 divided by 0.5, they are both milligrams, and make sure you keep the word tablet on the bottom. And we have 3.3 tablets. Is that closer to 3, 3.5, or 4?
3.5.
Now we always work the tablet problem as a dose. We don't ever work it with the 6.6 a day. Any problem, we're always going to work with the dose amount. So if they give us a daily, we have to divide and then work the problem. We can't work it as a tablet and then divide to get the dose. You always have to take the dose and then divide it by the tablet strength. Mm-hmm. No, you can't, no, because sometimes if you round, you're going to get a different answer. It might have accidentally worked out, but don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. Always take the dose first and then go to the tablet problem, because there are going to be times where you will get the wrong answer because of rounding. So the rule is always work it as a dose. Never work daily, then go to dose. Always find the dose. Okay? because they usually put a problem on the nursing test with if you do it daily, you're going to miss it. So always go this step first, even though most of the time you'll be okay. Now, another thing we need to notice here, every time I wrote this, I wrote out the word per. 0.1 milligram per kilogram per day. You're no longer allowed to use the slash. You cannot use a slash for the per. This is just one of those new rules they decided. I guess they decide sometimes people misread it. So always write out the word per. Don't try to abbreviate it like this. You have to use the whole word per. Okay, number 8. The dosage is 50 milligrams per kilogram per day. $50 per kilogram per day. Per. So the first thing I have to do is find what are the pounds.
99.
99 divided by 2.2. And what is that?
45.
45
Kilos.
kilograms. Now we take the 45 times the dose. This is milligrams, but it is per day. And the next step is to divide by how many times a day. Given every 4 hours, so what do I have to divide by?
6.
I was hoping I'd fool you, but you didn't. Every 4 hours says 6 times a day. Now, if I'm supposed to give 375 milligrams, and my choices are 250 milligrams, 375, or 500 milligrams, you would give 1 tablet of the 375 milligrams. And here's where if you didn't divide first, you'd have 3 different answers. So you always divide first and then see how many tablets to give. And again, you can't just tell me 1 tablet. When you have a choice, you have to tell me 1 tablet of what size.
So remember step number 2 to 45, we're going to drop a kilogram.
Right, because actually it's 45 kilograms times 50 milligrams per kilogram. They canceled out with this over here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, number 9 is where I need to give 275 milligrams. But I have 100 milligram tablets, 50 milligram tablets, and 20 milligram tablets. Now here we could divide 275 by 25 and give 11 tablets. But it's the only one that's going to come out evenly. But we're not going to give 11 tablets if we can mix it up. So if I want to give 275, first how many of the 100 tablets do I give?
2.
Okay, I'm going to give 2 tablets here. And how many 50?
1. And 1.
Wait. You've got 275
And 1.
Uh-huh.
And 1.
tablets. Or you're closer to, you said you
Okay, now I'm going to give just one of the 50 and one
1
of the 25.
I was going to do everything.
Yeah, giving, right. Giving one of these and one of these is better than giving 3 of these. It's always exact, but it's just better to give less pills. Now, sometimes if the problem's a little more complicated, you might want to keep up with your total over here. 2 times 100 is 200. 1 times 50 is 50. So make sure that it does add up to what you wanted. But we're going to mix them up to give the best, where you don't have to take too many tablets, but you do end up with the exact amount. Okay, the assignment today is 24 through 26. Now, most of you have been doing your homework. Those that have not been doing your homework, you must do this. There's no way to do these problems unless you just practice a lot of them. We will have a quiz Monday. And the first problem on the test is going to say something like, give 1 gram per day. Oh, I don't know, QID. Then it will say how many milligrams per dose. I didn't used to go over this because it just seemed so obvious, but this was always the most missed problem on the test. Give 1 gram per day, QID. How many milligrams per dose? First, I'm going to have to change to milligrams because I asked for milligrams. So 1 gram is how many milligrams?
6.
But this is the daily amount, so I have to divide. Most of the problems do not say daily. If it just said QID, you would not divide. But if it says per day, you do have to divide. So your answer would be give 250 milligrams per dose. You don't have to write per dose because I always assume your answer is per dose. I always want per dose. How many milligrams per dose? Change it to milligrams and divide it. Okay, any questions? Okay, quiz on Monday over tablets. Thank you.
This is Wednesday, right? We don't have to go tomorrow.
If we do, I'm not coming.
Thank you. What? After work. Oh. Would it be a little better?
Yes.